and the calls that you make is just incredible. Could you just walk us back to what got you interested in making your own turkey calls?
I actually made my first turkey call in high school shop in the 10th grade. Scratch boxes. It was a shop project. And I didn't make another turkey call till 79, and that was a wing bone. And that got me started. And I made wing bones along, trying to make box calls and glued together box calls. And made my first box call in 82. And the rest is really history. The box calls I made back then were crude compared to the box calls I make now. They were solid body rather than glued together. And I had met Neil Cost in '79 at the NWTF convention in Gainesville, Florida. He was a vendor there, and I was in that chapter, and I was helping them. Helping us put on that show. And anyway, I met him and spoke with him some, and uh, didn't really strike up a friendship with him. But I saw the calls that he made and how they were solid body, and he made some great calls. And so I decided to try to change things up a little bit, and I did. And but I really struggled with it for a while. But I didn't have a lot of time back then because uh, I worked with the railroad. I was in the Florida National Guard, and I spent a lot of time fishing too. So it was just it's something I wanted to do was make the turkey calls. Um, so I just started focusing more on that than going fishing, and taking family things like that. We were always close family, camped a lot, so forth. But I met Neil again in '80 at the same location. He came back uh, to Gainesville, and we visited some more. And I didn't feel I didn't order a box call from him. I just uh, more or less I would call him from time to time. And then in '81, I met him again. He came to the convention in Tallahassee, and we struck up a good friendship then. And I told him that I was interested in making a good turkey call, box call, and asked him if he'd mind helping me, and he said not at all, and he did. So that started our friendship, and I started. I just changed the way I did things. I started making calls were about the same length. They were not as deep. I was using a spade bit to drill calls when I should have been using the Forstner bit. I went the Forstner bit, and from that point on, I just started. I started making box calls, and I did after that. Several years later, paddle calls. Um, I made my first handled box in '84, and that's a different story altogether because I didn't sell any. Something too, when I started making calls, I made them under Widowmaker turkey calls, and that's what I was making when I started going to shows in '82, and I was I sold a number of those calls under Widowmaker turkey calls, and then I changed my name of the company to Lamar Williams turkey calls. I never I sold a number of those Widowmaker turkey calls, but I didn't sell a lot of them because I changed the way I was doing things, so I kept those calls, and I still have I've still probably got close to 25 of those box calls that I made back then under that name, and I have people from time to time won't know if I'll sell them one, but I haven't sold any. I just keep them for the family.
Am I to understand that you were really the first person that Mr. Cost showed, maybe gave some tutelage about how to build a box call?
Yes, he told me that that I was the first one uh, that stayed with him. He said several people had come to him and asking him his assistance in making calls, and he said, but none of them stuck with it. They quit calling. They quit coming around. And he told me later, he says, I figured you'd do the same thing. He says, but you stuck it out. So as a result of that, he would. We became great friends. He was a very close friend of mine. He was like a daddy to me in a lot of ways. Um, and I would have a little trouble from time to time trying to tune a call. And I would call him up and I'd say, having a little trouble with this call. Can you tell me what I need to do? And he'd say, well, run it for me. So I'd run it for him. He says, yeah, that right side needs a little work. I said, can you tell me what I need to do? He says, no.
Wow.
He says, that's for you to figure out. I said, okay. So I did, and that was good for me. And we just um, we just were great friends. I mean, we fished together, we hunted together. He lived 6.5 hours from me, north of me, up in Greenwood, South Carolina. And as our friendship um, progressed, he would come down here and stay with me, hunt with me, fish with me. I'd go up there and hunt and fish with him. I'd take my son with me when we would go up there, and it was just a great time. It was just a good time overall, and just a great friendship. And at some point, um, I remember that I was using like a number 10 screw in my calls. He was using number 12 screw. And he went to number 10 screw, and then he asked me to start, uh, asked me if I could get some springs for him. I mean, I was getting springs from the same place he was. He just didn't want to order anymore because you had to order a run, and a run might be 1,000 or 1,500. So I would furnish him with springs and screws. Uh, so it was just a great relationship.
That's interesting, and
Yeah.
I feel like when you see these custom call makers, whether you're at the NWTF convention or wherever the turkey tailgate, they're all buddies, and they all like to help each other out and help
Yeah.
each other become more skilled at their trade and more successful. And I think that's the way to do things. That's great.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot with artists and with people that work with their hands too, because you want to pass those things down. But to your point, Mr. Lamar, you got to have somebody to hang with you. It
No,
don't happen easily.
Yeah. All right. So, look, what is it about Neil calls that I mean, the obvious answer is they sound great, but what is it about them? A lot of these other manufacturers have tried to mimic or imitate. Or is that just a tried and true formula for a successful call?
I think what set his calls apart was naturally the sound, but he was the first one, to my knowledge, that was making decorative calls. He was by that I mean he was cherking them and inlay them. He was double inlaying paddles, double inlaying the sides of the box. He was laminating bottoms. Nobody was doing that. Plus, he was hand hewing the calls. Nobody was doing that.
I was going to say, so the other ones were glued up, correct?
Yes, most people were gluing calls back then. Um, some of them were probably using some sort of high speed wood removal, CNC or mortising, something along those lines.
I tell you, I watched some videos of you building some calls, and then you just laying a lid on one, screwing it down, and it sounded so henny, just without a lot of, with no tuning, just straight out of the. Is it can talk to us about a box call? Is there a better way to hold one or handle one? To be does each one can it be run differently, or does each one have its own special way that it needs to be held and run?
As far as holding the calls, I don't think so. As far as running the calls, I think we all run calls a little bit different. I have friends of mine that run split finger. I never learned to, I mean, I can run one split finger, but I just run it with my thumb and my index finger, thumb on the left side, index finger on the right side. Um, tuning a call, it's just different between each wood. I mean, whether it's mahogany, poplar, walnut, cedar, all of them are a little bit different because the densities of the woods are a little bit different. So, and even within each of those species, you get some forms of walnut are like yellow, like poplar. Comes mineral poplar, yellow poplar. Mineral poplar, for the most part, is harder than yellow poplar, so you would tune it a little bit different. You'd probably take more out. Where yellow poplar, you might not remove quite as much. But I normally take a call down to where it needs to be, where I think it needs to be based on the density of that particular call, and start trying paddles on it. And based on how it sounds, I might leave one side alone and then go to the other side and think I need to take a little bit more out to get just a better sound out of it. So I will do that. I have done that to the point that I would ruin one side or the other, and I'd toss it over on my burn pile, and I'd end up burning that one. But sometimes you have to change paddles several times. I've changed paddles 15 times on calls sometimes. But normally that doesn't happen. It's just it's a tedious process chiseling. Once you drill it, everything from that point on is all the stock is removed with a chisel. And then when you get on the bench and start tuning it, and you get in get to the point where you need to be, you need to know when to stop or when to start testing paddles, and from that point on, judging by the sound of that call where you need to remove more wood or leave it alone.